Welcome to the review of episode 3 of AHSOKA. Oh, hell. I'm Andy, a busy novelist, podcaster, YouTuber, and comic book writer. Roland Barthes's seminal work, Death of the Author, puts forward the idea that a writer cannot rely on the reader's knowledge of their other works or the interconnectedness of stories and their context. This is where I stand as a writer, having seen very little of the modern Star Wars lore, which AHSOKA seems to use heavily. Barthes makes a point that the reader's reading is a real authenticity, as opposed to that of the author. As audience members, we write the story to ourselves. We are the directors of the production. By Barthes' yardstick, if you've never seen AHSOKA, and I tell you it's about a group of female misfits who go into business as construction workers, and hilarity ensues, you'll be going along with that. But if you see a reading I've missed, please leave a note of your interpretation in the comments. Previously on AHSOKA.
Stop that ship.
If you use artificial intelligence in any accredited venue of higher achievement, you might get fielded for plagiarism. Besides, I'm fairly sure Huang's ordering a bento box.
Well, I discovered that according to Huang, I'm the worst candidate to be a Jedi out of every Jedi.
Yep.
Do you know where I am?
Next to Huang.
Are you sure?
Very funny.
Once more with speeding. Syndulla's report on the shipyard neatly skips past the problems of post-conflict integration for the easier morsel of that bad guy over there, which is the way the narrative seems to want to go. And in honesty, the Zoom call balances this with a bureaucratic tone so well parodied by The Simpsons in response to Phantom Menace. At Central Perk, Sabine, sobbing wretch, Ren, who really should not be allowed coffee, is given a pep talk to by a sucker, AHSOKA.
It takes time.
Yeah, no kidding.
You both knew this wouldn't be easy.
Well, what you said didn't help.
It's only been an episode since AHSOKA was poo-pooing Ren. Frankly, Tenant Bot's calling a spade, and politely too. Ren is staring at the coffee, trying to make it move. Coffee is cold? Don't you remember how long AHSOKA was staring for? The only way you're going to get it moving is to set it closer to the coffee maker. And if that fails, you could use the propulsion of the big little ship.
Why'd we drop out of hyperspace so far from the planet?
Standard Jedi mission protocol when approaching an unknown situation. In order to avoid enemy surveillance...
He's still doing this?
She's a smart-ass.
Right.
But the smart-ass type character only works in the tradition of great entertainers like Peter Parker or Xander Harris. I'd much rather see Sabine go to comedy college and Jedi school.
That's no moon.
The Luke and Han cosplay is fairly dull, a little noise to create the sense of plot. The Battle of the Onion Ring is over fairly quickly, but less so the outright remake of remakes.
They're coming in! 3 marks at 210!
I am tracking 2 squadrons of 3 crafts.
There's still 2 more of them out there!
We got 2 more incoming.
I got him!
Woo! I got one!
That's no moon.
Put your deflectors on!
Deflectors at 10%.
Stay on target. We're too close! Stay on target.
Yang.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
There's nothing I can do about it, kid. I'm full power.
Backup kicked in, but we're dead in space.
Have you not?
We have them.
I see them.
I see her.
Sabine! Did you fix the ship yet?
We did it!
We did it!
If it's using parts from a scene from the Force Awakens trilogy, using parts from a scene from the Phantom Menace trilogy, using parts from a scene from Star Wars, is it still Star Wars? Space whales! I don't know if these are the creatures from Empire Strikes Back, the Boondogs, Bogdans. It's been 10 years since I've seen it. In any case, they certainly enliven the world of Force, fire sticks, and functioning droids. The Empire can never quite finish their building projects, can they? I'd have thought by letting them build this galactic hyperdrive unicycle, it might get them out of the way for good, solve a problem. We're out in the woods today for a big surprise. And yeah, no kidding, we get into the forest and the episode stops, just stops. Runtime is 31 minutes, over 10 minutes shorter than either of episodes 1 and 2. It's jarring and undermined by the narrative presenting like a cliffhanger on mute. It's as if the script editor was out to lunch. Oh, the forest, you say, oh, all things that could happen in the forest. There's little Ewok squirrels and little birds and green woods and trees and ever-changing environments. Oh, I'm so excited. Bloody forest. I've seen cosplay. I've seen reenactments. All better than this. Huang talks around a ship of Theseus question. If AHSOKA uses many of the parts of Star Wars original trilogy, especially New Hope, is it AHSOKA? But because this is a new show, there's nothing to compare it to. And its purpose seems to be to insist on this being Star Wars with its timeline setting and the endless homages. Is this Star Wars? The magic of the originals remain largely untarnished by any other claptrap. Why do I love Star Wars, yet I'm nonchalant about the suckiness of AHSOKA? A New Hope had its own ship of Theseus in play. Lucas famously evangelized for Joseph Campbell, author of The Hero with 1,000 Faces and other works. Campbell was a sort of eminent professor of stories. From reaching worldwide historical studies, he traced a key plot and character beats. In the heroic type stories, he found largely linear, common steps known as the monomyth or the hero's journey. Contemporary cultural studies show how these breakdowns align with A New Hope and the organic feel it achieved. The monomyth came to be adopted by teachers of storytelling, often as a mathematical formula. As I discovered by putting together these visuals, Joseph Campbell said a bunch of racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic garbage, so his actual data may be worth a review at the source. Disheartening because he holds a particularly revered place as a reference for storytellers. You'll find a Campbell story structure is the most widely taught practice in writing. However, it doesn't need to be dull. The Wachowskis' The Matrix adheres to it, yet manages to be innovative to surreal. Other story theorists have their own spin on the monomyth. Dan Harmon took the 20-step hero's journey and adapted it into an easier-to-check 8-part story circle. Number 1, you, a character in their zone of comfort. 2, needs, wanting something. 3, go, so they enter an unfamiliar situation. 4, struggle to which they have to adapt. 5, finding, in order to get what the hero wants. 6, suffer, yet they have to make a sacrifice. 7, return, before they return to their familiar situation. 8, change, having changed fundamentally. So there. Applying Harmon's test, the time on episode 3 of AHSOKA is about 3:15 a.m. I've been up all night. Lucas tapped Campbell's work potently. His research was published only 3 decades before Star Wars, with a revised edition in 1968. Undoubtedly, much of the film's appeal speaks to some deep species gene memory. Every story we remember is in there, from the campfire yarns of early man to the glossy lens flare and prestige telly age of now. Structure alone isn't enough to secure that bond, though. The magic happens in the environment, the narrative's foreign places and mix of unusual people. Also the language, the visual language, something this show minds too deeply for my liking. It's kind of the Farley's Rusk of Star Wars, the baby food paste of a film classic that was made to be easily digestible in every way. in its original form. Star Wars is not a film that requires deep thought. It can inspire thought, emotional exhilaration, and ambition. Rogue One is probably the finest example of a new Star Wars film. Where it used old parts, it's selective. It's a political action flick. It tells organically of a ragtag team that are not on the same page, not unified in their mission, with plenty of hesitancy. There's a modern, gritty sensibility. And the rebels' aim to overturn the tyrannical government is a sort of stuff of universal appeal, even where many of us don't speak it aloud or only dream of activism. It reads with conviction to kids born, especially in the 70s and 80s. Generation Jedi find a similar appeal in The Mandalorian, many of them now parents, aunts, uncles, even grandparents. The simple paternal tale framed as a road trip narrative, stylized as prestige western is new, yet appeals to old memories. AHSOKA uses familiar language to represent its visual source. The problem being, as a prestige treatment, this is all relatively young and inexperienced. We're still in the first decade of live-action Star Wars TV. We don't talk about the holiday special. Compare it with Star Trek, which has around 3 decades of putting out new material. Trek has had plenty of hours to make mistakes. The sanitary utopian spirit has been figured out. The reams of autistic technobabble, it's often laid aside for character development moments, not to mention bold experiments with look and design, and even some measure of success with focused, serialized storytelling. AHSOKA positions its character moments around the Force. Despite its importance in the beats of plot and theme in the lore, the Force was one of the least interesting parts of the franchise. The Jedi are clearly modelled on Buddhists and practitioners of other Eastern religions, with emphasis on meditation and contemplation. At their core, doing violence to one another is something of the antithesis of those. Odd then that the unifying spiritual practice of mindfulness be called the Force. Its use can be summed up as magic powers. But in my opinion, Star Wars works best when it has both feet planted firmly on the ground. Yes, even in a galaxy far, far away. Well, I think that padded this video out nicely. I can almost see that YouTube monetization graph swell up. Time to Fly doesn't satisfy me to the levels of a nutty chocolate bar. It makes a good pretense of the effort, taking us closer to the action at the enemy base, with Emma Frost outside the window for the dogfight. But the part done story is a rug pull. The twist. It'd be as if I chose to review this episode. Anticlimax. If you enjoyed this video, and you did, please like, comment, and subscribe and share. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/AndyLuke and give me some money for lots of extra stuff like months and months subscribers. Arsalan, Haider, John Robbins, Marset Labs. On this channel there's videos of Sonia, Doctor Who. Oh, my Amazon author page.